What's going on YouTube? My name is Paul and I'm back here with another video. Please subscribe if you want more financial literacy content where I just make everything concise, no fluff, and really digestible, easy to understand. Previously, I talked about assets and liabilities. In simple terms, assets being things that put money into your pocket, and liabilities are the opposite. They take money out of your pocket. And I will make different videos about the financial markets, real estate, and other assets. But today I want to start off by talking about a certain liability, and that liability is credit card debt. And if you don't know too much about credit cards, I got you. So grab your popcorn, grab a pencil and paper, and take some notes. Even replay it if you have to. But this is just concise information about credit. So the definition of credit is when a borrower receives something of value from a lender and has to repay it at a later date, usually with interest. Now, examples of credit are student loans, car loans, mortgages, and consumer credit cards. These are examples of trade lines, which are just different lines of credit that you've established with different lenders. Consumer credit cards are among the most popular forms of credit. When you think of credit, you probably think of credit cards immediately. And this is where a bank will finance your purchases with the understanding that you, the consumer, will pay it back. Now, I started off by saying that credit card debt is a liability, but what some people don't know, and this is important, that credit card debt and debt in general is not always bad. When you ask people about credit cards, you get different answers, but if you know how to use credit cards correctly and you have discipline and you're well informed on how credit cards and credit in general works, then debt could be a plus for you and help you to build wealth. Growing up, I always heard that credit cards are bad, but if you know how to build credit and leverage credit, you're in good shape. So now I'm done with the intro. I told you about credit, trade lines, credit cards. Now we're gonna go into the meat and potatoes of what I wanna get across. So this video will be broken down into 3 different categories. The first one being information on credit scores, the second one being pros and cons of credit, and the third one being the topic of leveraging. So credit scores are numbers that express your probability of paying a loan back. So just how in grade school you got A's and B's, and there was a teacher that graded it, the teacher in this case is the credit bureau, and they grade your probability of paying the loan back with a number. 300 to 579 is very poor. 580 to 669 is fair. 670 to 739 is considered good. 740 to 799 is considered very good, while 800 to 850 is excellent. So 800 to 850 is like an A. But don't be discouraged if you don't have an A+, you don't have a perfect 850 score, because only 1.6% of Americans do. I tried to look up the time it takes to get a perfect credit score, and it really varies depending on the different variables that go into credit. And it could take you as long as a few decades to obtain an 850 credit score. So while we're on the topic of variables that go into your credit score, let's talk about it. So there's 5 variables that go into your credit score. So first, 35% of your credit score is affected by payment history. This is simple. This just looks at your different lines of credit to see if you pay back what you owe on time. The second variable is amounts owed, and this is about 30% of your credit score. Now, this is also pretty self-explanatory. If across your lines of credit you have high amounts owed, it comes off as you being overextended, and the credit bureaus look at you as risky. And you always want to have rolling credit, but you don't want to be too overextended. You want to have a healthy utilization rate. I know when I first started off, people told me, Paul, keep your balance below 30% of your credit line at all times. And that's right to a degree, but really it only has to be below 30% when your payment is due. So for my credit cards, I have the app, and I look at the date that my payment is due. So if my payment is due on the 11th, then I'm going to pay it down below 30% of my credit line. So when the payment is due, getting your utilization rate or your balance under 30% is good for building credit. But if you get it between 2 and 9%, that's optimal. Now, 15% of your credit score is determined by the length of your payment history. So the longer that you have lines of credit, the more your credit score goes up. And you may notice that when you close out older credit accounts, then your credit score can take a hit. 10% of your credit score is determined by the credit mix. They just like to see that you have a good mix of mortgages, auto loans, etc. And 10% of your credit score is determined by new credit. It's good to want to build credit and get new credit cards, but research shows that opening a lot of credit accounts in a short period of time is a sign of financial distress. And this can make you pose as a higher risk to the credit bureau, which is the teacher that grades you on your probability of paying loans back. So a good rule of thumb is to apply for new credit cards every 6 months. Some people even wait a year. I recently applied for a credit card that I love. It has great benefits, but me just applying for it, even though I got it, it made my credit score go down. But don't let that discourage you from getting new credit cards. Just try to use that rule of thumb and apply every 6 months. So now we're on number 2 out of 3 of the topics that I want to talk about today. And the second topic is pros and cons of credit. Now I'm going to get my cons of credit out the way just real quick. You can accrue interest and you can ruin your credit, but you only feel the backlash of the cons if you're not responsible or you don't really know too much about credit. So that's why I believe that if you do know what you're doing and you are responsible, then there's no cons. Pros of having credit is that you can raise your credit score to get many benefits, such as being able to pass background checks with employers. Employers sometimes look at your credit score. Also, you may be able to live in a better area, maybe with a better public school. When you want to buy and rent housing, it really helps to have a good credit score. When you want to get utilities, you want to get water, electricity, those utility companies, they look at your credit as well. They can charge you higher additional end service fees as well as a higher security deposit. And also having good credit can allow you to just get better credit cards with better benefits, as well as have a higher credit line. And a higher credit line, I look at that as a loan, right? And that's the next and final thing I'm going to talk about, is that having good credit can help you on the loan side of things, on the personal and business side. So if you want business or personal loans and you have good credit, you can get some loans that people with poor credit can't. Also, you could get better deals on loans. So things like lower interest rates. You can even borrow larger loans. So if you have 2 people that want to get the same car for $44,000, and on the left, this person has poor credit, and on the right, this person has good credit. The person on the right may get the full $44,000 loan with a 3% interest rate. I'm just saying anything. While the other person only gets a $20,000 loan with a 6% interest rate. So this person gets a lower interest rate so they get to save money. And also this person gets more of a loan, which some people may look at as bad, but the wealthy person looks at as leverage. And leverage is a very important concept in finance. It's when you borrow capital for an investment, expecting the profits to exceed the interest payable. So you can use the money over here, $5,000 loan with a 2% interest rate, and put it in something else that'll bring out an 11% profit. Now you have that 9% net profit. So you can leverage credit, aka debt, aka a liability, to acquire assets. Now you're more informed about credit. You know that there are pros and cons, but the cons only come if you're not well informed on what you should be doing with credit. A lot of people don't know that debt can be a liability, but also an asset that helps to generate wealth over time. So in the next video or videos, I don't know if I'll probably make it into 1, maybe 2, but I'm gonna go over how to build credit, how credit cards work, unsecured versus secure cards, what the definitions are, as well as just a few tips to get you on the right path for building credit. If I missed anything in this video, please let me know what you think I missed in the comments. If you learned anything, please let me know what you learned. I would love to hear your feedback. Please like, comment, subscribe, send this to a friend or family member that may need to hear this information. I really appreciate the support. It really means a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.